Hi,
Hello.
I'm Chi Chi,
I'm Chantel.
and we're recording.
This is the Reality She Prefers podcast, and we
Yeah.
are recording another episode the day before Chi Chi's birthday. So happy birthday. She gets another honorable mention. Yes. And if you can't hear from Chi Chi's voice, she has a little bit of a cold.
Yeah.
And I offered to make her a hot toddy, which I've yet to make her.
Chantel's trying to get me drunk.
No, did you not see the snippet that I copied and pasted? A hot toddy is known to cure.
Right.
So honestly, it's pretty good. I'm gonna make one as soon as we're done this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna make one too. Like I'll have one.
Okay.
I won't make them strong.
Okay.
So we are here to discuss The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell.
Yeah.
I do want to preface this. We have not talked about this on if you follow us on Instagram or TikTok, because yes, we do have a TikTok presence. If you didn't know we had TikTok, we are there. Come follow us. Anyways, so when we reviewed None of This Is True
Yeah.
by Lisa Jewell, she actually reached out to us.
Just jumping right in there.
I'm jumping right in there because I'm so excited to finally talk about it. She actually messaged us on Instagram. She listened to it, people.
No.
She answered our questions. She gave us feedback and commentary, and it was the highlight, probably, I don't want to say of my life, but definitely like highlight of the year. I'll go with that. Highlight of the year, highlight of the podcast so far. When other authors comment or even see stories and stuff, I get really excited. But she went out of her way to actually speak to us. Actually, Cook has also done that. CJ Cook has reposted stories
That is true.
and has been engaging with us, which is really exciting. Yes. So I just
really
want to preface
nice
that
about it is she's just real.
Yes.
Just,
she's a human being. She's busy.
Real and awesome, and engages with her readers directly. I mean, I can't even bother to respond to your messages. And she took the time, listened, and commented.
Yes. We are prefacing this episode with that like daydream that we were in when she got, like, I could not believe, like, when I said to you, like, I remember I screenshot, I was like, I told my friends, I told my family, like, oh my gosh, this author actually listened and commented. I sent you screenshots, like, holy smokes. And she gave us permission to share her comments. I just haven't found the right opportunity to do so yet.
Right.
So I think this is going to be the perfect segue into that. Okay, so I read this. I read the physical and I listened to this book, and I remember messaging you saying that I liked this one better than None of This Is True, because if you've listened to our podcast before, I like things when things are tied up with a pretty little bow and things all make sense, whether they're good or bad endings. And she did that with this one, and I really I loved this whole book. Like, I don't have anything negative to say about this book.
I don't have a negative thing to say either.
Yeah.
But I do have parallels that I'd like to draw on.
Do you want to do the synopsis first?
You know I'm not going to do it.
Okay, so I'll do it. It's about this young girl, Tallulah, which I love the name, by the way. She goes missing.
Yeah.
She's on a date with her, I guess, boyfriend, and she goes missing without a trace. No, literally, they cannot find her. And 18 months go by, almost 2 years go by, and they still haven't found her. And
hang on, I would say that this is, I'm sorry, can I jump in?
Please.
I would say that this is what happens in the wake of her disappearance. I would say this is about a story of how her mom is trying to heal, how she's trying to move on. This is a story about how fascination for grief or trauma leads an aspiring author to actually investigate into this case. Did you find that there's an underlining theme about class more prevalent in this one than in the last one? Okay, absolutely. Certainly about class.
Well, yeah. Yes. And I think that...
Can I say one thing? Let me just finish that.
Say as many things as you want.
And the extent to which the rich would go to keep a secret.
And protect their life.
To protect. Style. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the ending. Is like how far that this family went to try to protect their reputation.
Yeah.
Their lifestyle, their money, their everything, right? Like keep themselves out. Like it was so good. So good. That it was so good. So the only thing that I would want to add is just that you mentioned the writer. So really there's three perspectives in this story, right? There's the wannabe author, again, I'm sorry I forget her name. Kim, I think, is the mom, I think, and Tallulah. So there's these three perspectives of what is going on, and the writer comes in the middle of Kim, the mom, trying to figure out what's happening to her daughter, grieve the potential loss, the potential death, just navigating this situation. And she ends up uncovering really some key evidence and key information that essentially restarts the investigation.
Yeah.
So her role is quite crucial in figuring out really what happens to Tallulah. That's one thing I wanted to add.
Totally okay. Yeah.
Do you have a rating for this book?
4.7, 4.8.
Oh, can you do that?
Yeah.
Can't be in 5 increments?
No. 4 point. And I think, I was talking about the parallels I wanted to draw between this one and none of this is true.
Yeah.
When Jules contacted us, she actually, she disagreed with her reading or my reading of
the
class element, and none of this is true. And she actually hinted that we would see similarities in The Night She Disappeared. But I would say that this is clearer in terms of the way it writes the class, the way it writes the class dynamic and what's going on. And something I found from None of This Is True is that there's a lot more sensationalism right at the end.
Okay.
But this one is not as sensational.
No, this one seems very black and white. There was clear evidence of wealth, even in the way that the characters were portrayed, the not Tallulah, her friend, her brother's friend, the mom, just there was this clear divide. Now, I will say that I never got the impression that Tallulah was struggling in terms of monetary struggles at all. Yes, she, got pregnant when she wasn't expecting it. She had the baby. She was living with her mom, going to school, trying to make better, but her mom was giving her an allowance. There was some element of struggle in terms of keeping up with daily life, the daily challenges that normal people would face. But I would say that there was a lot of I really liked Tallulah in that it was very real. Right?
That's okay. So that's
really,
what I mean.
Really, really real. And I think that was probably part of the appeal.
The fact that every time she spent with the girl meant that she didn't have to think about her reality, which is she's a young mom.
I think
an 18-year-old.
You're right. It was more about the friendship.
Yeah.
But it ended up being more than a friendship.
Right.
It became a romantic involvement between two people who identified as female.
Who's lesbian involved?
Was lesbian involved. You know what though? In speaking of that, I wanted to message you and be like, oh my God, you won't believe what Jewel just did. Like, she threw in this lesbian aspect. But it was so classy and like not smut.
Okay. I really need to talk about this. So this is what I mean when I say there was okay. I almost felt, and it's only reading this one and comparing it to None of This Is True.
Okay.
That I can see the differences. None of This Is True, as amazing as that book is, and trust me, it is actually a very memorable book for me, and it's one of the top for me, right? And I would say it's the best thriller I've read.
Okay.
Yeah. I did like it a lot. I don't think I actually emphasized how much I liked it. I liked that I could identify with a character.
Yes, you can.
Like both of them, as crazy as they both were. I can, crazy as our favorite girl is. I could identify with her, but there was a sensational element to that book. It played with tropes that are commonly seen in thrillers. Okay. So, which is nothing is as it seems. We talked about this, right? But this one, there was something more realistic about it. Yeah. There is something a lot more plausible.
Yeah. Like it could happen to your neighbor.
It could actually happen. You could see it happening.
Yeah. I love this one.
And even with the Tallulah's character, what made her lover/friend's life so appealing is that it was an escape from her reality, and that reality being the struggles of being a young mother, like the horrible struggles of being in a violent, emotionally and psychologically abusive relationship with her partner. So it was an escape. And in that sense, you can I don't know if you can identify, but I can think of relationships that I've held where it's been an escape from a reality so I really like that. And also the end, that very powerful end. It wasn't as sinister as we expected it.
No.
Spoiler alert. Her boyfriend, as is presumed through the entire book, is not her killer. And it's not, he didn't actually do something harmful to them. Yeah. What happened was he was accidentally killed. Mm-hmm. And then in concealing, he was accidentally killed by her friends, murdered.
Because her friend murdered the boyfriend.
He was
to protect her.
Why did I say accidentally? He was murdered.
No, he was murdered.
It was a crime of passion.
He threatened to take the child away.
He threatened to take Tallulah's child away, and in defending the woman who's the girl whose name we just cannot remember right now, accidentally murders him, and in concealing that crime, the murderous mother kidnaps Tallulah, ties her down on a boat, and I guess attempts it with the intent of murdering Tallulah. So I think
Scarlett,
and Zach. Good, we have names. So I think there's something sure, we can say it. I don't know if you would say it's sensational, but perhaps it's the way it's written. There's also almost something believable about it. I can imagine this happening.
It could literally happen to our neighbors, right? And it was so relatable and so great. And the fact that there was just this page turning suspense and it was so riveting. Every element of the book and the perspectives really made it great, because you didn't know, what was going on. And then, Lisa added, I forget his character too. I mean, I guess I could look it up. The professor, the teaching assistant, there were so many, players that could have had something to do with Tallulah's disappearance. And we didn't know if Tallulah was dead. We didn't know if she was alive. that to me was like the whole book. I was like, oh,
this
please,
for sure.
please let her be alive. Like the
This
whole
for sure.
time I wanted her. I could care less if Zach was dead. Like, I was like, good riddance. But please don't let I needed Tallulah to be alive. So when they found her on that boat and she was alive and then they reunited, like, oh, and I just kept thinking, like, as a mom, how hard that must have been to be away. Like the way that Jewell described the relationship between Tallulah and her son seemed like they were inseparable. And the fact that like she just like could never get back to him and was like, even Scarlett was like tempting her, yeah, we're gonna get you back, and you know, you're gonna see your son. Like, to not know when you're gonna see your child next and to be held captive, like I can't even imagine. So I think that she made that character so relatable. But I just found that this one was a whole package.
The pacing was different too.
Like pacing was different.
The pacing was
different.
The pacing was really
good.
good.
The ending was great.
I remember saying that the pacing for None of This True, that there's a very significant chunk of the book that keeps you right on edge. And then the end just almost feels a little disappointing.
None of This Is True?
Yeah, do you remember that was my review?
100% agree.
But then, like, being away from the book for a little while, I was able to reflect on what it was that I actually liked about it. But this one, the pacing is very steady. I don't get that sense of, like, you know,
no ups and downs.
Yeah. There are no dips and valleys. Yeah. It's very steady. The buildup it's a really powerfully paced book from start to finish.
In a very good way, though. Like, very good way.
That ending with the ex's understanding that he's been manipulated and exploited by Scarlett for so long, and this reclamation and like just this moment of agency where he's like, I'm not gonna do what Scarlett's. Just that ending was honestly, I think it was genius.
I know. I loved it.
I know that you messaged me after you read this, and it was at that moment that I realized why.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is so good.
Yeah, it really, I loved it when he was like, yeah, she thought I was going to go burn that body, but little, like, fuck, like, he was basically like, fuck you, Scarlett.
Have you known people like Scarlett? Because I felt like...
Yes, not in terms of the wealth.
Right,
but definitely in terms of the mannerism and the lack of, like... not the lack of the amount of like she was super self-absorbed, like it was her way or nothing, her world. I've definitely known people like that. I wouldn't even say like
very exploitative tendencies. They can manipulate a situation and know what that is that they want from you, and that they can take it. There's something very Josie from None of This Is True is relatable in terms of her obsessive tendencies. And I don't know if she's relatable for you, but definitely for me. Like, I liked that about Josie. But I don't think I've actually met or I know people like Scarlett. But it wasn't hard to imagine.
Yeah.
It was so she was such a powerfully written character that I felt like I knew or I've met somebody like that.
Yeah. I mean that's a good segue. It's funny that you say that because I didn't feel that way with None of This Is True in terms of like
you didn't like it as much as I did.
But I felt this way about this one.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I could both be Tallulah or Scarlett.
Whoa. No. We gotta explore this. How can you be Scarlett?
I don't know. Like,
if you guys don't know, Chantal is my friend. So if that's not obvious, now I want to know how.
I mean, there was a lack of like. So I think that Scarlett's attitude. I mean, besides her upbringing, which I obviously don't share with her.
Yeah.
it came from a lack of attention from her parents. I'm not saying that I have that. I'm just saying that all of these like these characteristics that she had, it was part of like her upbringing. It was part of her,
the fact that she didn't get attention from her parents.
She was just like this, spoiled.
She craved that love and affection.
So, and she was looking for ways to get that from people. She was manipulative. She, I'm not saying that I'm Scarlett, by all means, absolutely not. But I could resonate and relate to her from certain behaviors, like the fact that she, I want to even say, targeted Tallulah in this like way that, like, oh, she's not like anyone that I know. She's not like anyone that I hang out with. I think like what did she gain from being like, I'm still very confused like with how that relationship started.
It seemed like she always kind of, she saw Tallulah. She thought she looked good, or she was fascinated by her, to some degree, because she definitely went after her. But now that you mention that, and I know, like, we're not going to pathologize ourselves on the show or anything, but I think it's really interesting that you find Scarlett an identifiable character based on how she became who she is, which is she's got the narcissistic elements because she was sort of devoid of love, right? And her family.
I'm not saying that I'm devoid of love.
No,
or anything like that.
Oh my God. You're like, okay, back up.
But I mean, I definitely, I can understand her narcissistic tendencies. I found it intriguing. I'm not relating to either. Like, yeah, I just found like, even with Tallulah, like, I found that I was drawn to her because, she was pregnant and had a baby unexpectedly and was still like trying to make the most out of her life. She relied heavily on her mom for support. I'm sure her brother played some kind of role in that. The reliance on the family unit for Tallulah versus the polar opposite of Scarlett, right? Scarlett did say that she really loved her brother and without her brother, but there was still that like lack of family unit, right? Like, and I think that that's what really drew me to Tallulah, is that it was just such a strong family bond.
Did it draw you to her because it's aspirational, or because you could see yourself and your backstory in Tallulah?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, definitely now I would see more of my backstory in Tallulah, but like if I was, if I put myself in Tallulah's shoes when she was pregnant and having a baby, then no. I don't know. I do identify with both of them. Though I wanted to say, I've been like biting my tongue to say this. This class dynamic, I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if it was a book. I don't think so. Have you seen Saltburn?
No.
Okay. Do you know about it?
No.
Okay. So this book, the class dynamic and the relationship that's formed reminded me of this movie. Very much. And this movie is really messed up in terms of like, oh my gosh. Anyways, the backstory of it reminded me of it, which is why I liked Saltburn.
Okay.
So please Google it. That I'm also like really intrigued by UK elite. and royalty. So I think that's why I really was intrigued by Scarlet in that backstory. Do we do our ratings?
I said
I don't think I
4.8.
did mine, no.
Yeah, what's your rating?
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. I also want to comment because I don't think we've discussed it. I don't even think we discussed it on the first podcast that we did for her. Is her writing.
Oh, God.
You know, for this type of genre, it's superb.
No, I just think we say that because we've been disappointed by the books we read in this genre.
I think I disagree. Jewel's writing for that genre is very sophisticated. Jewel paints a very vivid picture, and she writes very well.
Again,
she's very talented.
She is.
She could write any genre, so I'm not limiting her in that she could just write through. I think she could write whatever she wants.
I think a better focus would be less on genres and more on what are the similarities across the board for good writing? What is it that a good piece of literature does?
Sentence structure?
No, I
Word?
don't think so. Because there's some books that the authors play around with sentence structures. So sentences are incomplete.
Right.
You know, or their
use of language.
Use of language is like completely, different, unique, or like they play around with the accents and languages. But what is the commonality for good literature? And that's literature that can make, and this is what I kept trying to describe when I was asking for what it was that I was looking for out of a good book.
Okay, here we go.
So it is literature that gets at the human experience.
Okay.
Even if it's through a sensational meme, right? Like a sensationalized storytelling, i.e. thriller genres. But does it answer what it is about the human experience, human connections? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once a story can do that, it becomes a good piece of literature. I don't think Verity does that.
Oh gosh, can we stop talking about that freaking book?
I know.
Please.
I don't think The Housemaid does that.
I know that we're basing our comparisons because that's the first book we read as this book club, our first podcast, but like,
what is it about? None of this is true, or The Night She Disappeared, or All the Lights You Cannot See, even though those are two different genres.
Yeah, they are.
Doer and Jewel. What is it about those books that make you so...
The descriptions of the humans that we're reading about, the level of connectivity that we have with these characters,
and if I could just jump in right here.
Oh, please go ahead.
That ending, again.
This one?
Yeah, The Night She Disappeared. That ending, when the ex-boyfriend takes back his agency and says, I'm not going to do this for somebody who has been exploiting me. That's a moment of profound understanding, like, and relatability. Yeah. That's a moment that anybody can read and be like, I've been there. It's not something you're thinking about when you're reading it.
So the character relatability is a big thing for you?
I think for everybody.
Well, yeah, I know. Just saying for you.
How she toys around with class.
Yeah.
Across, between the two books we've read.
Yeah.
How class plays up in her stories. And how these people who are from seemingly opposite sides of the social world come together.
Yeah.
And what is it? It is that human connection that we all so desperately strive for. Yeah. It's the same reason why Tallulah and Scarlet can strike a relationship.
Right.
It's the same reason that we can read them both and be like, I understand this person's motivation.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about survival. Yeah. It's about finding compassion and love. Yeah. Love that she makes me think about these things.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay.
I think we should move on.
I agree, Ashley.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you, Lisa Jewell, if you listen to this. We like you very much.
That went deep.
It did. I think so too. I hope you approve. Bye bye.